For centuries, the relationship between Africa and its diaspora has been defined by separation. People left, they were taken, they migrated, they built lives thousands of kilometers from the continent their ancestors came from. And over time, something remarkable happened. The people left behind became poorer in capital, while many of the people who left accumulated capital, skills, business, property, and influence. Today, millions of people of African descent live across North America, Europe, the Caribbean, and Latin America. They work in some of the world's most productive economies. They own businesses. They control investment capital. They build technology. They manage institutions. They build property. They create wealth. But much of that economic power remains disconnected from the continent, not because the connection does not exist, but because the connection has usually been organized around one idea: sending money home. Remittance, charity, family support, emergency assistance, all of these matter, but they are not the same thing as investments. And the distinction may be one of the most important economic questions facing Africa today, because one happens when the diaspora stops being treated primarily as a source of money. The numbers tell a story that is rarely presented as one story. The Black American consumer economy represents enormous purchasing power. The Caribbean diaspora supports economies where remittance can represent a significant share of national income. Across Britain and Europe, African and Caribbean communities include doctors, engineers, lawyers, entrepreneurs, investors, executives, artists, and technology professionals. These are not simply populations, they are economic networks, and those networks already move billions of dollars. But much of that money moves outward from individuals towards consumption, family support, or short-term assistance. The missing piece is ownership. Imagine even a small percentage of diaspora economic activity being redirected towards African businesses, property, manufacturing, logistics, technology, agriculture, tourism, and infrastructure. The question is no longer how much money can the diaspora send. The question becomes how much productive capacity can the diaspora help build. For decades, the message was simple: go back to Africa. But that was never really a plan. Where do you go? Which country? Which city? What visa? Can you buy land? Can you start a company? Can you move money? Can you get residency? Can you access banking? Can you find reliable infrastructure? Can you connect to a market larger than the city you landed in? Telling people to return without answering those questions turns an emotional idea into a logistical nightmare. And that is why many diaspora return movements remain relatively small. The desire existed, the infrastructure for return did not, but something has changed. Africa is becoming more economically integrated, and Southern Africa may offer one of the most interesting platforms for a different kind of return. Not necessarily permanent relocation, not necessarily abandoning the country where we were born, but building a second economic home, a place to invest, a place to operate, and a place to own. Africa is competing for diaspora capitals. So is the Caribbeans, the Middle East, Asia, European cities. Governments around the world actively welcome expatriates, investors, entrepreneurs, retirees, skilled professionals, and offer residency programs, investment incentives, citizenship pathways, business-friendly regulations, tax advantages, property opportunities, and infrastructure designed to make capital feel welcome. Africa can't assume that people will invest simply because they have African ancestry. Heritage does create an emotional connection, but it does not automatically create an investment decision. And capital asks different questions. Is the system predictable? Can I own? Can I operate? Can I move money? Can I make a return? Can I protect my investment? And can I build something that survives beyond me? If Southern Africa wants diaspora capital, it has to compete. So the question is not whether Africans abroad love Africa. Many clearly do. The question is whether that emotional connection can become economic organization. Can millions of individuals become a network? Can remittance become investment? Can consumption become ownership? Can individuals' property purchase become regional development? Can professionals become bridges between markets? Can Southern Africans become a home base for diaspora capital? And perhaps most importantly, can the continent create systems strong enough to receive that capital without wasting it? Because capital flows opportunity, and it also follows trust, and trust has to be built. For generations, the movement was mostly one way. People departed, money traveled back, families remained connected across oceans, but the economic relationships stayed fragmented. Now imagine something different, not a mass migration, not a slogan, a network. A diaspora that does not simply send money to Africa, but owns businesses in Africa, owns property, fund production, build technology, create jobs, develop communities, and participate in regional markets. The return does not have to mean leaving everything behind. It can mean building something new on both sides of the ocean, because Africa does not need the diaspora simply to come home. It needs the diaspora to become economically connected to home. The Southern Africa may be one of the places where that connection can become something much bigger. The question is no longer, will the diaspora return? The question is, what will the diaspora own when it does?
But I would like to say in conclusion that the most important consequences of all the activity we're here to initiate is that together on both sides of the Atlantic, we will work together to make sure that never again will we allow a handful of people with superior technology to walk into Africa, seize our peoples, and sell them into slavery.